Hello, everyone. I'm Lucy Balch from Synergy Homeopathic, and I'd like to welcome you all today to our Summer Vital Quest presentations. Today we are with Dr. Paresh Vasani, who has been practicing homeopathy for over 25 years, treating thousands of patients in India and abroad. He's also well known for his teaching and case supervision, helping other homeopaths reach a deeper understanding of how to arrive at the correct prescription. He teaches at The Other Song, the International Academy of Advanced Homeopathy in Mumbai, and he's also the co-author of the Reliable Repertory and the Sensation Repertory. Teaching for so many years has given Dr. Vasani strong insights into the difficulties faced by homeopaths in their practices. To help ease these difficulties, he's developed this unique Vital Quest software that's based on Dr. Rajan Sankaran's teachings. Developing Vital Quest has helped him and many others understand the finer aspects of the methods which are necessary to reproduce the best results. Vital Quest has recently merged with Synergy Homeopathic, and you can find out more about the software at vitalquest.com. For Mac Repertory and ReferenceWorks customers, the Vital Quest software is currently on sale through the summer. Originally priced at $1,600, Vital Quest Synergy is now on sale for just $1,000 through this sale period. Dr. Sankaran's additional books are also on sale for just $400, down from $650. Also, if you missed Dr. Sankaran's presentation on June 30th, the first of our presentations, you can watch it on Synergy's YouTube channel. And this presentation will also be there. But now, please join me as I welcome Dr. Paresh Vasani to this second in our series of Vital Quest presentations. We'll leave 5 minutes at the end for questions, so if you have any, please type them in the control panel you see in front of you in the questions section. And now I am going to turn the program over to Dr. Paresh Vasani. Enjoy.
Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to present my work on this software, Vital Quest. So, before I start my presentation, I would like to present how we came to develop this software. In 1997, I started teaching, and before that, I was working with Dr. Rajan in his office. I'm talking about 91, 92. That was a time Dr. Rajan developed this idea about miasms. So he would dictate the notes and I would write it down. When it came to my own practice, those cases where miasms would be obvious, I would use it, and the other cases, I would not use the idea. And when I started teaching, I found the same thing happening with students. Those cases where they can apply the idea, what they learn in a seminar, they will use it. But over a period of time, they would go back to their old method. And then I realized that in difficult cases, we all need some guide, someone to help us to find out the solution. At least in India, we have our teachers available, we have our colleagues whom we can just call up and find the answers. But it's not available to many of us. And that's when I presented this idea to Dr. Rajan that we should have a kind of software. And this Vital Quest is a result of that. Well, the basic principle of homeopathy is individualization. Means every case needs a different approach. And that's exactly the concept of Vital Quest is. You can see this screen here where there are different approaches. So a case may need an approach completely from a repertory point of view, or a case may need either a therapeutic approach where you focus a lot on the diagnosis of the disease, or it may need a search in materia medica. You may base your prescription on a keynote. But there are cases where patient goes much deeper into their experience, and patient gives you a very clear vital sensation of the case, where the kingdom, sub-kingdom, and the source is clear. And every case, the approach differs. Sometimes you combine rubrics with sensation, or rubrics with keynotes, or materia medica and sensation. So Vital Quest, this is what offers the flexibility where you can use rubrics, materia medica, and sensation, and they all speak the same language. Let me demonstrate this with cases. So first case that I would like to show you, let me show you a small video of this child. Don't worry about the language, just observe the child. So what you see, even before we start with the history, the first patient has left, this patient enters, the camera is on, the compounder is taking the prescription, but in that hustle bustle, since the camera was on, we could observe the child, what's happening. So let's see further. ऐसा नहीं है कि आप 2 बजे से बैठे नहीं स्कूल से 3 का टाइम दिया था स्कूल से आई वो ऐसे ही करते हैं डिस्क्रिप्शन कर दीजिए तुम्हें मराठी बोलते हैं नहीं हिंदी भी बोलती मराठी में तो रुकने का नहीं सीधे जाने का अच्छा बोलता है खाली एक ही सब बोलता है मम्मी एक ही बात पापा. So very obviously you can see the observations here. The rubrics which are very obvious here in this case is the child is striking himself and striking his face and this grunting sound. So where what you see is rather than listening to what mother thinks about the child, our frank observations which are so obvious, grunting sound and striking himself on his face, and that gives us the remedy. And the change that happened in the child was so amazing that his striking himself came down. The child was with a Down's syndrome, but you see his recurrent infections which the child was getting came down. His development became extremely good, and child showed a very, very good response to the remedy. But here our focus was pure observations from the patient and selecting rubrics on the basis of that. Let me show you another case. Again, this is a child where there was a developmental issue. So this child He was around 14, 15 years old. But again, his speech, if you see the tone of his speech, was not very well developed. It was still a very childish, babyish kind of tone. And mother is saying, she's aunt, she's not the mother, but she said because he did not get father's love, he's like that. But if you shout at the child, or when he's in the school and when the teacher is there, he speaks normally. But moment he's out of the school, he reverts back to this kind of tone.
प्यार नहीं मिला। स्कूल का नाम बता दो। स्कूल स्कूल हाँ।
Say this. Moment the question is asked, what he does is looks at the aunt.
बोला नहीं बराबर बताओ वापस जोर से बताओ। अभी उनका आवाज जरा ये चेंज वो जो ऐसा आवाज बदल गया तब से वो ऐसा बात करते थे। फिर हम चिल्लाएंगे तो बात नहीं करते। दक्ष मैडम उसके मैडम के पास बात करते उधर बात करते।
So in the school with the teacher he speaks normally, but here at other places he does not.
वो आवाज में पूरा नाम बोला स्कूल का कल्याणदीप। पूरा नाम बता ना इनका नाम बता। स्कूल का नाम तो पता है ना बताओ ना। हमको सिर्फ नाम लिखने का इससे बता दो।
So again this child with the developmental issues, and now when you see this child, so what we do is we search in Materia Medica. So let me show you. Let's do that. So suppose if I want to search in Materia Medica, children and late in their development, even if you put just these two words, sorry. So you see Baraitacab as one of the predominant remedies that comes up. And if you read about it, so let's show you from Dr. Rajan's book, Soul of Remedies, where he describes from Fartak's Materia Medica, where children are late in coming into the usefulness and to do their work. It's where the development of the child is arrested, there's delayed talking, and they are late in development. And then, of course, what you see is the bashfulness of the child and how he looks at the aunt every time when the question is asked to him. So whether you do it from the point of view of searching in a Materia Medica, or you do it with a repertorization. So what I have done, I've taken rubric development mental arrested, timidity bashful, and a Materia Medica children in 6 words of late. And that's what comes to Baraitas and Baraitacab as a remedy. So here what we are seeing is a combination of a Materia Medica search and the rubrics. Both of them are going together. Let's move on to the next. So what was the effect of this medicine? His speech came back to normalcy. His development improved much better. And that was a beautiful change that happened with Baraitacab. Let's go to the next case. It was a case of a chalazion. Now, what was chalazion? It's a cyst in the eyelid due to blocked oil gland. They are typical in the middle of the eyelid, red and not painful. Usually it follows a stye, there is hardening of the oil blocking the gland. So this girl, she was around 23, 24-year-old girl, and she had this recurrent styes and this recurrent chalazion. So she had taken regular medicine, she had taken homeopathic, she had surgically removed chalazion, but it would recur. And when she came, the first thing she said was that this thing is not curable. I've taken homeopathic, regular medicine, surgery, but it has recurred. I did not want to come here, and I didn't want to take treatment, but my parents forced me to come here. Why is it happening again and again? Will it continue my whole life? I don't think this is curable. So the first obvious thing from her was this kind of that she described. So how did this challenge her? I cannot this. I have to wear spectacles. And this is affecting my personality. I don't like wearing spectacles all the time, especially when I'm going to social functions. When I'm wearing good dresses, it really does, it would not go well with my personality. That's what I feel. It's affecting my physical look, something like that. For me, basic personality or the basic character is much more important. Well, I don't feel looks are so much important, but still, so there was a kind of, and she had a feeling that this wearing spectacles is affecting her looks, her personality, and that. Then I asked her about her fears, about her dreams, about different aspects of her life, and there was nothing important that came up. I asked her one question: is there any intense situation in your life where you were tensed or worried or upset? Thankfully, there was one situation that was happening right at that moment in her life, and that was she had one job offer from a company, an opportunity to work in a multinational company, and that was giving her sleepless nights. She couldn't eat because of that. The tension was I was not able to make a right decision. The company people would call me up tomorrow, and what do I tell them? Should I tell them yes or should I tell them no? So this is what she said, that this is my nature, that I cannot decide very easily. I think in terms of both ways. I think positive and I think like this. And she described in detail about working in an old company, what is it, and working in a new company, what is it. So I see the plus points and I see the negative points. Every time in this kind of situation, when I have to decide, I get stuck in the middle. I'm not able to take the right decision in my life. That's what I feel. I keep thinking in both ways, and there were her hand gestures, what she was showing on both sides, going this side and that side. So what we have to see is what is behind this expression. What's her experience? Why is she not able to decide? So I ask her more about this. Just say more about this not being able to decide, thinking in both sides. It's very difficult for me to adjust in any kind of environment. It's like, people mold themselves according to situation. This is how they work according to environment. But for me, it's very difficult actually. People somehow adjust, but I cannot adjust. So what is this mold? So the spontaneous answer she gave me was, it's something like how a potter makes the pots, how they mold according to whatever shape they have in their mind, and they shape it, and that's how the gesture she did of making a pot. And people also mold according to the targets and ambition. But I cannot mold myself. I cannot adjust accordingly. If anything is there, I would simply say, just forget it. It cannot be done. So I say, just say more about this mold. What comes to you? Just describe this gesture more. And when I asked her this very specific question, she said, when people ask me a very particular question, like something about my choice or something about my decision, I get very conscious. Means I become speechless and I have no answer for that. Suppose if they tell me 5 things which you like, I don't have any answer. I go blank. I'm not able to express in my words. Suppose if there's a filling up of some kind of slam book, then I'm speechless. Slam book is something where you write about yourself, who you are, what you like, what you don't like. So if you ask her about herself, she becomes speechless. If you ask me to decide between 2 things, I can do it. But if you tell me 5 things about you, I cannot write. And she feels confused about it. Maybe people can understand me, but I cannot understand myself. I'm very confused type of person. Every time I'm confused because I take things from both sides. I see positive point also and negative point also. I'm totally confused and I run away from all these things. So this is the case. Now, if you see, how should we approach this case? Should I search for a remedy which has a predominant affection of the eyes and the styes and the inflammation of the glands? Or should I look for some rubrics in our repertory? Should I search in a Materia Medica? Well, this case, this needs an approach because her experience is very clear. Her sensation is very clear. And yes, what's the sensation? Her main experience is confused about her identity, that she's not very clear who she is. And that gives her the dilemma. That gives her this thinking positive and thinking this side. And so let me show you it in the software. So if you open a repertory, of course you can look at a rubric confusion about her identity, but this is an opportunity where you can use the sensation repertory. And then if you look at some rubrics like issue of personality, so if you see, this is the classification. So what we have done here is, this is a repertory of sensations. Well, I'm not saying rubrics or the symptoms, but the sensation, the experience. So we know the issue of personality is a very strong feature of mineral kingdom and row 3 of mineral, where it's how your identity is expressed in your choice, in your appearance, in your communication, in your individuality. So you can select that in a case. So I can just simply put this into the sensation repertory clipboard. Issue of identity, and that's what again you see, it's a mineral kingdom and row 3, and you can select that as a rubric. Issue of appearance, Again, you see mineral kingdom, animal kingdom, row 3, row 5, and in each one, what is it in row 3? So it's issue of care, nourishment, relationship bonds, forsaken, appearance, personality. What is it in animal kingdom? It's need to be attractive and attention seeking. So this is how it is expressed. And I can put this also into the clipboard. And then if I see the sensation repertory, clipboard, these are the 3. 1, and if you want to see the result, so then it would show you, it could be mineral kingdom or row 3 and row 5. And in row 3, what if you would see, it will take you further and show you the result. If I want to add a rubric from that, let's say if I want to add, let's go to the reliable repertory. And if I take a select a rubric, confusion, about identity. And if I select this as a rubric and put it into a clipboard, and then I would do synergy. So you have 3 sensation rubrics and 1 rubric about confusion of identity. And when you see all of them together, you will see row 3 or the mineral kingdom rows, row 5, aluminiums, and when you click on row 3, you see this is how is the result. And you can see aluminum here. So here, in this case, what we have done is we have selected mainly the sensation approach, where the row 3 sensation is very clear. And then we took a help of a rubric and came to aluminum. And if you see the miasm, which is a syphilitic miasm, because what was the desperation? It was completely hopeless. Nothing could be done. It's incurable. If you want to study more about the sensation of each row and each column, this is where you can study them. So suppose what's the sensation of row 3 of periodic table? And then if you see here, it exactly the issues are mentioned here. Developing their identity, wanting to be different, ability to take decision for himself, developing an ability to express like this. So going back to our PowerPoints, so what was the follow-up? Her challenges gradually resolved. It took some time because it was very hard, almost calcified, but over a period of few months, it gradually got resolved. No more styes. But what was the most beautiful change that we saw? That her air resolution greatly improved and state got much diluted with remedy. She could decide things very easily. She further studied. She did MBA in her field, and there was a good change. So I have a follow-up for almost 5 to 6 years, and there was a very beautiful change. At least for 6 years, there was no recurrence of styes or no chalazion that came up. Of course, retrospectively, if you look into the affections of the eyes, inflammation of the tarsal glands and the swelling and the tumor and of affection of meibomian gland, all those places, alumina is very strongly given, recurrent styes, etc. But that was again seeing all those rubrics retrospectively. Okay, let's go ahead with the next case. Now this is a case again of 43-year-old female, and her main complaint was a chronic ear discharge. It was greenish color of the discharge and offensive smell of the discharge. This complaint was there since 5 to 6 years, and also some deafness along with it. The discharge was there that time of life when she was quite emotionally disturbed. There was leukorrhea, yellowish, or sometimes it would change color. She also had perspiration, especially whenever she would do exercise. But that perspiration, there was a bad smell, offensive smell, and I would feel quite ashamed about it. So here, if you see something which was very important was the green color of the discharge, especially the of otorrhea that she described, and the general symptom of offensiveness. The ear discharge was offensive and the perspiration was offensive. So she was married for 22 years. Her father died when she was very small, and mother died recently, um, 16 years back. And she described that her childhood was very unstable. I did not have ground. When I met my husband, I immediately knew that I'm going to marry him because he gave me that what I needed very much. But now, after 20 years, he's a very insecure person. I respect him, but I don't love him. He's not the person I need now. Few years back, I developed a liking with another person. I wanted to go out of marriage, but I could not do that because I have two lovely sons and I have a relationship of dependence. So my process is getting out of marriage, but I always need support and I have this duality. I need to be secure, but then I feel little angry in this relationship. I feel suffocated in this relationship. I need that support. I need that ground. I need that stability. I go out, but then I have to come back. Like when I'm traveling, I need to come back home because home is like an anchor to me. But I feel suffocated here and I need to go out. In last 20 years, I have to prove myself that I'm good. In last 20 years when I worked only for 2 years and I'm a homemaker. I don't like to be home, but I'm always studying, seeing patients. Why? Because practice is the only way by which I can show that I am somebody. And that's the only way I can say that I'm not so bad. I am somebody. And I have that need to be a person because I'm always too protected. My husband is like, you can keep your head on my shoulder and supporting me, but this is bad for me. So I have this need to be someone. I need that support because I don't have anyone to take care of me, financially speaking. I can't go out. I don't have a job. I can't leave my children. I don't know if I can leave him as a person. I'm too close to him. And then she described the fights that would happen in her house, in the relationship, because she always felt that I'm always treated like I'm wrong. I don't think I'm happy in this relationship. Women should be treated like, I don't think the women should be treated like this, that they are childish, that they are eccentric. I'm insulted. I should be treated at the same level as men. So, this is the whole history of her case. So, what we see in her case is a very strong, two aspects are coming up very intensely. On one side of the duality is need of dependence, support. She needs support on her husband. She's not working financially. She is not dependent. She's dependent financially. She's not independent. She needs that touch. Insecurity is there. She needs anchor, ground, money, job. So these are the issues on one side of it. But that's not everything in her life. She's not completely happy having that support from her husband and everything, because only being at home, what she also needs, the other side, is she needs to be someone, to have her identity, that I'm different. I have my own opinion. And she spoke about the issue of being dirty and being beautiful. Like she described about her grandmother, who was very beautiful. Status, money, feeling of being put down, that you are ugly, you are childish, you are eccentric, you are stupid. And I have to fight for respect. And the other two aspects that she described was the issue of lightness and suffocation. So we are looking for some remedy. Obviously, this is very obviously a mineral kingdom case, a case which has all these aspects. And we remember her chief complaint of greenish otorrhea and offensiveness. Offensive otorrhea, ear discharge, leukorrhea, and offensiveness in general. So suppose if you do a traditional repertorization, like we would say, okay, ear chorea that she has, an offensive perspiration like that, we would get something like murk and lycopodium and pulsatilla as well. So here again, what I did was approach where I selected some sensations. So if I look into my sensation repertory and look of support and a sensation of security. Why do I need to look into this? Because in our traditional repertory, we do not have a rubric which would actually convey this experience of need of security and support. Our traditional repertories fall short of all these experiences. And then if I select, if I do a combination of sensation of support and security, and then if I take our rubrics like ear discharge green, ear discharge offensive, leukorrhea yellow, and perspiration order offensive. And what you see is row 4 is coming up strongly. And when you double click on row 4, you get Kali Sulf. Exactly. Now, if we look into our traditional materia medica, we know that in our college days we learned that pulsatilla is an excellent remedy for greenish otorrhea, offensive discharge, If you combine that, what's a biochemic pulsatilla? We know it's Kali self. So greenish, offensive ear discharge with a need of support and security. So Kali is an aspect which talks, okay. So I can also show you that how when I put some words, when I take her history and put it for sensation words, and then all the words which are non-human specific words gets highlighted in Vital Quest. You select all, and then if you see, it shows you the kingdom, which is the highest, the mineral kingdom. And what are the words that we use for mineral kingdom? Words like unstable, support, security, insecurity, dependence, proving, protection. And then if you click further, it would say, okay, possibility, it's on the left side of row 4 and the element of Kali. So so is a and a symptom. So need your support, which is like row 4 issue, need of having her own identity, being somebody, which is like sulfur. Sulfur belongs to row 3 and which has the main theme of having your own identity and individuality and being put down that, where you are insulted, you are put down, that you are not good enough, you are ugly, you are eccentric, and you are not respected in a relationship. That's the part comes from sulfur. And symptoms of greenish offensive discharge. So this is the prescription. Now the question that comes, what doesn't fit here? What happens to suffocation? What about the lightness and the suffocation, which he said again and again? And then you remember Kali self is actually potassium sulfate, K2SO4. So there is a strong oxygen part of it. And that's why that suffocation, which we know is a strong part of oxygen that comes up. So follow up in this case, what you see, there was an intense aggravation after the remedy for 2 to 3 days. First time in 14 years, she developed fear and gradually her discharge stopped. Her energy increased markedly. She's described that mentally, I'm feeling very well, very good disposition, very positive, no fears. I can do everything and I can with independence. In family, I think I won some respect. Mostly I'm much calmer in stressful situation. And my husband listens to me much more. Well, what you see is her state got diluted. And somehow suddenly you see that her situation has changed drastically. So this is the case. And if you study from the Materia Medica, deafness from congestion of tympanic cavity or with catarrh and shelling of eustachian lining, worse in a heated room. Earache with discharge of watery or a yellow matter, secretion of thin, bright yellow or greenish fluid after inflammation, stinking otorrhea. And even Kent describes in the lectures on Materia Medica, catarrh of eustachian tube and middle ear, dryness of middle ear, discharge from ear, yellow, thin, bright, yellow, greenish, bloody, offensive, and purulent. So these are the cases. Now, let me show you, just for 5 minutes, let me show you some parts of Vital Quest. So different kinds of cases. So whether I want to approach a case from a rubric, like how we saw it in a case of belladonna, where we approached a case only with a rubric, or a case of Baraitaka, where we did a combination of materia medica and sensation, or a rubric, or we see a case of Chalesium, where it was predominantly sensation with a rubric, or the last case of Kali Self, where we used everything together, and we did a synergy. So Vital Quest offers you this kind of flexibility to use different approaches. And the most important part of Vital Quest is the sensation information. If you want to use sensations in a case, if you want to study the sensations of anything, let's say animals or plants or minerals, this is the best place to do that. So suppose if I want to study sensation of mammals, how do I study that? I click on it, it gives me a summary, it gives me classification and different mammals. So I can click any one and read about sensation of that. It gives me the natural information of mammals. So it gives me natural history of mammals. And then it tells me exactly how do I see the sensation of mammals, like need to belong into a group, paying a price for that, hierarchy issue, strong maternal instinct, problems related to menses, lactation, what would be predator mammals, what would be prey mammals, domesticated mammals, and most important, in different case examples to perceive that. The keywords that you would see in this kind of cases, or differentiation of mammals and snakes, mammals and spiders, and different. So this is mammals in general. Now suppose if I want to read about any specific mammal, like for example Lactifloratum, then you can read about it. And exactly the same way, what's the natural information, sensations of it, come to the, okay, and we have some links to YouTube videos where you can actually perceive the experience and see the behavior of the source. Okay, this is exactly, if there is some proving, then excerpts from the proving. And this you can do not only for mammals, you can also see birds, you can see reptiles, you can see spiders. Just as an example, how many birds do we know in our Materia Medica? You see the whole list is here. These are proved and the remedies available, and these are remedies available but not proved. And you see how many remedies we have. The same thing applies to plant families. So different plant families. So around 40, 42 plant families which are explained very, very well. And exactly, again, if you open any family, then you read the same. What exactly is the sensation? How do you derive it? Passive reaction, active reaction, what are the remedies? And you can read about each one of them, their keywords, case examples, differentiation with different families. You can read about each row, each column, each element. You can click on any element and you can go and read about it. For example, if I want to read nickel, I can just read about it. You can read about nosodes, sarcodes, imponderables, synthetic remedies, different other kingdoms, miasms, philosophical topics, cases, and you can search words. So this gives you a complete information. And of course, there are other books as well. So like if I want to read Kent's lectures or Herring or Encyclopedia of Pure Mathematica and different books, different provings, our traditional books, new provings, all those informations are given here. If you want some help with respect to case taking, so there is a guide which is available. How do I take a case? What do I do at each level? Step 1, step 2, step 3, what do I do? How do I get help in sensations? What questions do I ask? How do I identify a sensation? So there is step-by-step guide that's available. How do I do case management? What do I do during follow-ups? How do I repeat a remedy? There is a help with respect to every aspect. So this is all about Vital Quest in short. If you have any questions, you're most welcome to ask me. You see, any questions we have?
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Vasani, for that wonderful presentation. Before we get to the questions, I just want to quickly remind our Mac Repertory and ReferenceWorks customers, they can purchase Vital Quest Synergy for the reduced cost of $1,000 during the summer sale. Dr. Strachan's books are also at a cost of $400. All right, so on to the questions. There were a few specific ones about your cases. In video 2, the 14-year-old that you gave Burita Carbonica to, what was the dose and how frequently did you give it?
So it was infrequent doses of 1 m potency that was prescribed. So we would see the child regularly and whenever the dose is needed, but even just after the first dose, in a very few days, his speech improved. So rather than only school where he would speak normally, his speech became normal and he would use it everywhere, normal speech. And his development was much faster, much better.
Okay, thanks. With the Illumina case, would you have given that remedy even if it hadn't covered the eye symptoms, just based on the sensations?
So you have to be very careful. If you are very confident about the sensation and about the strong rubric, most of the time, if it's a polycrest remedy, you would normally find the same physical symptoms available in a repertory or a Matra medica. But suppose if it's a very newly remedy, like if you say, let it be an eagle or a falcon, there are provings of eagle and falcon also available. But when such new remedies are there, the pathologist may not be so well covered. But in a polycrest remedies, most of the time, they get covered like this. Rare instances, if you're very, very sure that yes, the sensation is very clear and pathology is not covered, you can still prescribe it. But you are going to be careful in such cases.
Thank you. Just a quick thing about the sensations. If a person doesn't know very much about the sensation method, how can they best utilize Vital Quest in their practice?
So exactly, if you see here in this Vital Quest, if I'm showing you here, you can see, of course, you can use the repertory and the Materia Medica, and you can combine repertory and Materia Medica. And specifically for the users who are not quite familiar with sensation, we have created a structure of sensations in the form of a repertory. So this becomes a very useful tool for you because the approach differs from case to case. Not every patient goes to the sensation, but those cases which do go to sensations, you need something for help. But repertory and Materia Medica is always there where you can combine them together and see the result.
All right, thank you so much. Quick question about the Oteria case.
Yes.
How did you know so quickly that this was a mineral case?
Okay, so if you remember how she described that when I saw my husband, then that was the thing where this is what I need, this is what I'm lacking. So mineral kingdom sensation is a sensation of a structure where you see your life as a very definite structure, either lacking of structure or a structure which needs maintenance or structure is collapsing. So she felt that I'm lacking this security, I'm lacking the strength. This is what I need because this is what I'm lacking. So we knew that this is a mineral kingdom. It was not an issue of her sensitivity and reactivity or issue of survival, but seeing her life as a structure.
Okay, thanks so much. A few questions have come in about training on Vital Quest. One person asked if there's a complete course that can be taken that combines how to use Vital Quest with homeopathic philosophy, or maybe review a little bit how you can see the different trainings on Vital Quest itself.
So how to use Vital Quest is already available on YouTube. So when you search for Vital Quest on YouTube, we have our YouTube channel, and there every aspect of repertory, materia medica, sensation, repertorization, every aspect is explained very well how to use it. It's there. You can use it.
Okay, thanks. One person asked, does Vital Quest have limits to a certain final number of rubrics?
Say again, sorry.
Okay. So the end numbers that you had were about 7. Does Vital Quest limit to a certain final number of rubrics?
No, you can select 10 rubrics, 15 rubrics.
Okay. And also, how exactly does Vital Quest add to the family analysis that Mac Repertory already does?
So you can classify if you have a repertorization, for example. Let me show you here. So suppose just right now we have this here, but you can filter. So suppose if you say I want to see only animal results, or only plant results, or minerals, or sarcodes, or only nosodes. So you can filter that, or you can select a specific kingdom. So you can say, okay, I want to see only mammals, or I want to see only cat family, or only cats. So you can also put a filter of all the classification and then see the result according to that. And if you want the information, you have it in here in Materia Medica.
All right, thank you so much. Again, it's wonderful presentation. I appreciate it. We all appreciate your time so much. And I just want to let everyone know next month, Roger Morrison will be joining us on August 10th at 5 p.m. Pacific time for the third and final Vital Quest presentation. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. Thank you so much, Dr. Vasani. I hope we see everyone next month. And goodbye. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.